Hello and welcome back to Bee Boss Kitchen. Today I want to do a couple of different pecan recipes. A friend of mine had mentioned about some candied pecans I did years ago, and I am just not sure what recipe I used for that. So I'm going to do two different recipes today. So let's get started. This first recipe that I'm going to do is in an old Southern Living cookbook of mine. It was a 1982 cookbook, and it's called Glazed Pecans. And so I'm going to do that one first. And we start with a cup of sugar, a half cup of water, a teaspoon of cinnamon, ground cinnamon, and it calls for 1/4 of a teaspoon of allspice, but I don't have any allspice, but I have apple pie spice, which is very similar, and so that's what I'm using. Okay, and then we want to heat this up on medium-high heat. I'm going to stir it, get it all combined. Okay, the recipe says to stir it constantly, cooking it over a medium heat for about 5 minutes. It's starting to boil a little bit, and so I'll just continue stirring. I still have about a little bit over 2 minutes left to cook this before I add the nuts to it. Okay, it's been 5 minutes, and so now we're going to add 2 cups of pecans and stir it and coat the pecans really well. Continue to cook this for 5 more minutes. Okay, it's been 5 additional minutes, so now it tells me to remove it from the heat and to stir in a teaspoon of vanilla. Now it says to place them individually on wax paper. Okay, now that that's done, it says to let them cool completely. I'm not sure how well this is going to turn out. It seems to me like it's really wet. It says to let it cool until they dry. Oh no, I'm sorry. It says to let them cool completely. But I don't know if this is going to harden up or how it's going to do, because I've never made this, but we'll see. Now I'm going to do the second recipe that I found, which is in an old 1986 Southern Living cookbook. The other one, like I said, was 1982, but this one is 1986. And this one is called Sugar and Spice Pecans. So I'm going to make it and see how it turns out, and hopefully this will be good. It calls for 5 cups of pecans, and I sure would hate to know that I wasted 5 cups of my nuts. But anyway, we're going to try it out and see. You never know till you try. Okay, this next recipe says to take 1 cup of sugar, 1 tablespoon of ground cinnamon, 2 teaspoons of ground nutmeg, and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Combine it all together, and then we're going to set this aside. Next, we take 2 egg whites and 3 tablespoons of water, and we're going to beat those until they're foamy. Okay, you see how that looks? They're foamy. Next, we're going to add the sugar mixture gradually, a tablespoonful at a time, until stiff peaks form. Okay, I think that is probably as stiff as we're going to get that. So now we're going to fold in the pecans. want to make sure that you coat the nuts really well with the egg white mixture. And then we're going to turn these nuts out onto a baking sheet. Now the instruction says on a well-greased baking sheet. But what I'm going to do, I'm lining it with parchment paper, but I'm also going to spray this with cooking spray. And now I'm just going to spread these out on the baking sheet. These will bake in a 300-degree oven for 30 minutes. I believe is what the directions said. I'll look and make sure. And I don't know, just looking at the previous recipe I've done, I'm thinking this is going to be the better recipe. I don't think that other's going to dry. I don't know if the syrup should have cooked longer, but I did it like it said to do. But I'm not too sure about it. But thank goodness it only called for 2 cups of nuts. I'd be pretty sick if I'd used 5 on that, and it looked like it's looking. I don't think either one of these are like the ones that Heidi had asked me about. I'm not sure what recipe I did way back then, but I hope these will be good. I don't know. Okay, we'll put them in the oven and bake them and see how it turns out. Okay, the pecans that are done in the meringue finish is in the oven. I have to stir those every 10 minutes, but they stay in the oven for 30. Now I have made a joint decision between me, myself, and I about these pecans that I don't like the looks of how they look. It said to let them cool completely. They are cool, but they're a little bit tacky. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them in the oven. And I'm going to bake those for just a little while because I think this syrup is not candied enough to be a hard finish. And so, me, myself, and I said, that's a great idea. Why don't you try that? So that's what I'm going to try. I'm just going to see if I can get these over on the, well, I'll have to have a spatula. And see if I can't rake these. Well, let me see. Man, this is a mess. Pretty much, I think is what this is. So, I don't think I'll be recommending this unless it turns out really spectacular when I take it out of the oven. I'm sure none of you all ever make anything and it just totally flops. There's nothing much more frustrating to me when I put my work and effort into something and it doesn't turn out well. But like I said when I started it, I didn't know how it would turn out. So I'm not too agitated about it. I may be when I get through cooking them in the oven, because I sure would hate to lose my nuts. Okay, isn't that a mess? You see that? No, that's not a keeper recipe for me. Okay, but I'm just going to spread this around because it probably will be absolutely delicious after I put it in the oven, and it'll roast these nuts because they don't even have a roasted flavor. It's kind of hard to separate them. They're so blasted sticky and tacky, but hopefully a bad start is going to be a great ending, don't you think? We're going to check it out and see. I'm going to pop these in the oven and we're going to see what happens. Well, I have just taken this botched up recipe of pecans out of the oven, and voila! I think I may be genius, I'm not sure, but these look so much better. Take a look and see what you think. These actually look like they have actually candied now. I'm going to try one of these, even though they're still hot. See how that looks? It's no longer wet, it's actually candied. And I think that is going to be out of this world. Man, that's good. Oh my gosh. The pecans are actually toasted or roasted or whatever you want to say now. They have that roasted flavor and that crunchy candy shell. And they're still hot. I can only imagine what they're going to be like when they get cooled off. Oh my gosh. I am so glad that me, myself, and I thought of that. They're such a great team. Oh, I'm so proud of them. Wish you had one. I'm just waiting on the others to come out of the oven now. I hope I'm not disappointed in those. So, I'll get back with you in just a few minutes as soon as they finish cooking. I have the other nuts out of the oven now. And I sure hope these are good because there's a lot of them. I really hate to think of myself just as pure genius because I really don't think I can take total credit since it was a joint decision between me, myself, and I. But I almost think this is going to be the winner. After putting it in the oven and letting it bake. Oh my gosh, y'all, those are so good. And I wouldn't have given you a plug nickel for them before I put them in the oven. I thought it was going to be a total loss. These, of course, they're hot, but those are good too. These have a salty flavor. These don't have any salt. They're sweet, but these have a little bit of a salty taste. It's really good though. They're very toasty, like a roasted nut. They're good. I don't know. It would be tough to decide which one. These nuts, the first batch that I did is called Glazed Pecans. This second pan, it's too hot for me to touch, but this second pan is called Sugar and Spice Pecans. So I'll post the recipe for both of these below in the description box. And if you have not subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate it if you would. It would mean a lot to me. It would really be very encouraging as I'm trying to build my channel. Leave me a comment and I'll reply back to you. Give me a thumbs up just to indicate that you like the video. And share it with somebody. And don't forget to click on the bell there if you have not clicked on the bell when you subscribe, because that's when you receive notification when I post another video. But it's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed doing this, and I don't think it's been a loss. I think I'm going to be really pleased. So, until the next time, this is B-Boss saying, may the Lord bless and keep you and your family safe. And I hope to see you really soon. Have a great day. Bye.